Hey, it's Bob from Better Music here with a very special guest, Mr. Alex Hutchings. Welcome, mate.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming to Better Music. So the track you were just playing before. We're going to talk about some of the effects and some of the sounds that you were using throughout the song. Some amazing sounds in there. We're going to go through these 500 range pedals, the brand new Boss pedals. Talk us through the cling sound that you had at the start, and just let us know what you were doing there.
Yeah, sure. Well, essentially, I've got the switcher down here, which is the ES5, and essentially everything's plugged into that, right?
They are awesome. I've got one of the ES5s myself. I love it.
That's right. So on this particular one, I've got it set to turn delay on, 405. So very simple. Just and if I notice that the expression pedal there is turning up the delay.
Yeah. So what are the two pedals doing? What have you got the functionality there set to?
Yeah. Well, I always like a volume pedal at the front of my rig, and actually I have the distortion. I always forget this. Do I have it before or after? I have the distortions. I can't even remember. What do I have them?
Distortions before.
Before, thank you very much. So I have the distortions before because psychologically it's in front and I'm not very bright, so I can't remember. So the reason for that is that then the gain stage of the pedal is the same, but the volume pedal is literally just controlling the volume, right? So I can use my volume on the guitar for the gain stage. So if I just sort of do it like this. So that volume is down a little bit, and I'm then using the volume pedal as a swell. If I turn this up, you'll notice that the gain stage is a little bit more intense. So again, I used the expression pedal that time to turn the delay level down a little bit. So it's a kind of a careful balance between the two. But yeah, that's really how I've got them set.
That's fantastic. It sounds great. Like that overdrive pedal, controlling that gain level like that is really cool. A lot of people, they rely on that volume knob to do it, and it can be a little bit inconsistent. So having that makes it, consistency. That's fantastic.
Cool. So I do the same with the DS1, or DS1X, should I say. Just, I guess, if anyone's not familiar with these, DS1X and OD1X are kind of a complete sort of revamp of the old one. They're completely different. They utilize a lot more kind of modern sort of techniques for kind of scoping the sound out. They're incredibly precise and just awesome. So they're quite different pedal.
And different to the original DS1 and OD1 as well. So offering a little bit more texture and a bit more tonality, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're just a lot more up to date for today's music. And I remember the very first time that I used the DS1X, I was completely blown away, and it was on a live gig, and I was handed it. And it completely changed my playing for that day. It really gave me something.
That's cool.
And it made me shred a lot more than I normally do. So I'll just give you a few seconds of that.
Totally.
I don't know if we'll get done for copyright here, but let's go. Why not?
Get down.
But you can feel the shred.
That high gain, the high gain's there, but without all that fizz as well.
That's right.
A lot of high gain pedals, you get that fizz and So that's nice and controlled. That's really, really nice sounding. I'm going to make mention too, you're actually playing through the Blues Cube Artist.
Yes.
So this amplifier has been around for a little while now, and they've got a couple other versions of it, but the Artist is probably my favourite of them for the simple fact that you've got all this control, there's an effects loop, there's everything in there that you need, but these tone capsules as well. Matt from Roland has set up this tone capsule thing here. The tone capsules sound fantastic, and they change everything, all the dynamics in the amplifier. So you're on the Ultimate Blues one now?
Yeah. Essentially, I mean, out of all of these, they've all got great strengths. I particularly like the Ultimate Blues because it gives a real a lot of headroom on the clean, which I like because depending on my mood, I like to be in a kind of a jazzy frame of mind. So I'll give you a little example of how clean it can go on the.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
1, 2, 3. Put a bit of reverb on. So you can see when I'm sort of digging in, it's still pretty clean.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know. And then when I play with my thumb, you can feel that it's very warm and response.
Yeah, very cool.
So yeah, that's one of my favorites. Well, I suppose we could show you a few seconds of the other ones, couldn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
I reckon the EJ, the Eric Johnson one, is going to be a tone that most people are familiar with. Maybe we'll try that.
Yeah. So the tone of this one is very specific. Obviously, it's quite a dark distortion tone,
and probably a bit mid heavy as well. So it's got this kind of mid, I guess. What would you call it? It's almost a mid-focus. Like his tone is very, very vocal in his playing.
That's
so
right.
It probably accentuates that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let's just show you that sound. I'm not very good at impressions, but let's see what we can do.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever, something like that. But yeah, it shows the flexibility of the amp. Really cool. Another one which is really cool, the New York Blues. Again, it's kind of very voxy in its makeup, real solid. I'll just show you that. In fact, if I take the clean channel for a sec, that's very sort of snappy, quite different to the Ultimate Blues. Okay, now when I go to the crunch, it's real nice as well. There's also a boost on there, so that gives it another little lift.
Yep. That sounds awesome. I like that one.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, it's just great. It just shows you the power of the amp. And for anyone that's interested, the way that these amps work, and I've learned this recently myself, is that there's a fully analog input stage, which is great. So you can't really overload it. So it takes pedals really well.
Yeah.
Where the tubes would normally be, it's something called tube logic, which is where the sort of brains of the amp lie. And then, but the power amp as well is actually a push-pull power amp, which is similar to many tube amps, and then a custom speaker as well. So it's essentially sort of 3 parts the same as a tube amp, if you like. And then where the flexibility, which a tube amp can't do unless you're putting in lots of different tubes, is what these are doing as well, which is emulating other amps. So
exactly
it's
right.
Cool.
Yeah, and the other ones there, the Robin Ford, the Robin Ford, and the regular sound of the amp, they all sound really good, and they all have their place, I think. So that amp sounds fantastic. But I guess getting back to your setup here and what you had here. There was that high gain sound right at the end. You were shredding. Right at the end, you were cutting sick, bro.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, that right at the end, that was a really cool sound. So can you talk us through what you've set up there as well?
Sure, yeah. Well, to be perfectly honest, like very simply, as I said, my distortions, I tend to favor distortions into a nice clean tone.
Yep.
So hence, like I say, having the Ultimate Blues is pretty clean. So it means I can, you can't go backwards, right? If you've got quite a crunchy clean, you can't ever clean up past that.
Yep.
So for me, I like to have a real clean bass and then the pedals. So these two I find cover all the parameters I need. But the bit at the end was simply the DS1X, a bit of delay. Yeah, so that was it. Clean. There you go. There's a few little.
So yeah, so
bits.
the way you've set it up, you've basically got a clean sound, a mild sound, and a wild sound. I guess is the way that you would kind of. Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
but you know, I don't always use it in that full on mode. Like I say, if I just roll this off a bit,
so it cleans up nicely, doesn't it?
So again, I think any good pedal allows that. You know?
Yep, awesome.
So
that is
cool.
fantastic. Now, one last thing I'm going to touch on, the chorus sound. You had that, there was a chorusy sort of sound as well.
Sure.
I love chorus. I'm a big fan of it. And the MD500, what's going on in that thing is just ridiculous. These pedals, when we were given the pedals to play and experiment with, it was just ridiculous what's going on with them. So the chorus in that, which chorus were you using? And
yeah, I was just playing around really with some of the first ones, some of the first patches. This is just a basic chorus. I'll just show you that with and without for a second. So without, then with. Couple of variations. There's a CE1 here as well. Let's do a different chord. There's a few variations in here.
Yep. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, just there's one more for good measure.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Another thing, I think if you hear these in stereo as well, it really adds another dimension. Just for the hell of it, I've been playing with a bit of flanger recently. That's pretty fun. But obviously there's loads in there, the phasers, the tremolos.
Yep, the Univibe sound, that was the one I was smitten with. I love the sound of Univibe, so
yeah.
It's very cool, man.
Bit of trem. Just loads of killer stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reverb, I guess with the reverb, you're using I can see a plate sound there. You've tried the shimmer and things as well? You've done all that stuff?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'll just give you a bit of the shimmer effect for a second. Something that's pretty cool is that you can hold as well. You can hold the effect. So let me just get a little clean tone here and see what we can do. Let's see if I play a simple chord. When I hit this down.
Yep. Yeah, wow.
So yeah,
that
cool.
sounds awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, killer. Yeah. So I mean, basically, I think there's nothing that you can't do with this. You know, the final thing maybe I'll just mention is you see we've got them all MIDI'd up, and you know, MIDI's been around for a hell of a long time, but I think there's maybe a stigma from guitarist point of view anyway that MIDI's just for keyboard players, right? But actually, with stuff like this coming out, there's a whole bunch that's really useful for guitar players. So
absolutely.
Obviously, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, simple changing patches. So program change with something like this switcher. If you can see this on the screen, I can change all three of them at the same time. Means you can completely customize your set list, if you like. And a couple other things, which again, I've just been learning recently, is with the expression pedal, you can actually control parameters via MIDI as well.
Yeah, right.
So for example, traditionally an expression pedal, you plug like a stereo cable, right, into it. But with MIDI, if it's plugged into here, that can send messages to all three of them simultaneously doing completely different things.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm only just getting into it myself.
You're
So,
in the matrix. You're deep into the matrix,
man.
Alex.
It's pretty good.
That's awesome, mate. Well, thank you. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Alex, and taking us through the 500 series of pedals and the Roland Blues Cube Artist. Again, mate, we can't thank you enough for stopping by here at Better Music, and enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.